So, just on the agenda, the alcohol one. Okay. Next on the agenda, we are going to address the recommendation from the Member Engagement Council to change WSBA fiscal policy to allow for the purchase of alcohol with section funds. I have here the following folks who are listed as being the presenters: Governor Matthew Dresden, Governor Mary Rathbone, who are the co-chairs, and Assistant General Counsel Catherine Schur. Let's start.
She's in. She said no.
Okay, so perhaps one of you wishes to thank you, Governor Dresden.
Thank you, President Angelville. So I would refer governors to the materials on starting on page 216, the meeting materials, and I certainly won't go through them. I will make a few quick points in a Hernian style. So I would just say that a strong majority of section leaders, certainly not all section leaders, but a strong majority, favor reversion of the fiscal policy to what it was before 2016. This reversion or change, depending on how you want to characterize it, merely gives sections the freedom to spend their own funds. It has no effect on the ability of sections to provide or prohibit alcohol at their events. It was passed unanimously by the Member Engagement Council and the Budget and Audit Committee. I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments about it, and certainly I don't know if Kate wants to weigh in on any part of this, but I will leave it at that. And the Member Engagement Council asks that the Board of Governors approve the proposed changes to the fiscal policy.
And nothing to add from me right now.
Does anyone have any questions or?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I discussed this last night over drinks with other governors who've been around since this policy was passed. This is a reversion from previous policy, in that the board originally changed this policy to align with WSBA, the section to align with WSBA policy, and that WSBA does not buy alcohol, and now the section also does not buy alcohol. That's how we got to the current policy. My feeling on this is I will be voting yes, because I think the sections should be able to, as adults, determine for themselves whether to use how to use their phone on something perfectly legal. Another thing that we talked about is that what happened if the cannabis board section wanted to have a cannabis party. That's a discussion for another day, but
Governor, no, we're still discussing. Governor Bang?
Oh, thank you, Madam
There
President.
has not been a motion.
Also being part of that discussion last night, and no, WSBA did not pay for our drinks. And I would also say that I do enjoy social alcohol, so I'm not trying to poo-poo anything or make any moral statements. But I think I'm 60% not in favor, but I would love to hear compelling reasons why we want to explicitly say, yeah, you can serve alcohol, while at the same time we really want to engage our members' physical health and well-being, right? What is the real benefit to saying yes to this? I suppose I'm looking for. Thank you.
Director Plachy, and then.
Well, I'll speak to Governor Bang's question, but I'll also give sort of a perspective from at least the work I do with the member wellness program. And so all of you know, I'm the director of the member wellness program here at WSBA, and I'm a certified wellness practitioner. As a certified wellness practitioner, we really look at programs from a broad policy level, and they exist in an ecosystem. So they run from individuals to communities up to social systems, and it's kind of spherical and it goes out. Where WSBA fits into this is in the social system part, the outside sphere, because we're the policy setters, right? So we're setting the example we're setting the policies and the examples. What's happening now, what we do now, the change to this policy will not really affect from what we're modeling as a policy, because right now alcohol is at WSBA events. It's allowed there. And it's hosted. There is hosted alcohol at WSBA events. They get there by a sponsor that is sponsoring it. The only thing that's changing with this policy change is the flow of money. So instead of the sponsor paying the section and then the section just kind of making a payment from the sponsor has to pay the money directly to the venue. So it's kind of it's an acrobatic thing that's happening to get it there. The bottom line is it is getting there. If the organization is concerned about having alcohol at events, that's a whole other question. If we want to model abstinence, then we need a very deep discussion about that. And it probably needs a lot more research and information gathering. What's happening here is insubstantial in my mind, because the policy initiative that we're modeling is not changing. What I would suggest behind this, if the board adopts it, is to further demonstrate our commitment to responsible drinking, because that's what we really want as an organization and as a policymaker, is to model that, is to make sure that procedures are built in so that alcohol is limited if we're providing it, meaning limit the number of drink tickets, maybe 2. I don't know what that would be, but that could come from the executive director as a procedural mandate, to make sure we have licensed bartenders at all events who can cut people off and know when people are over consuming. And I would say the other thing is, I had one other thing. Let me see. And, this is an important one, to make sure that non-alcoholic drinks are just as available at a hosted bar as alcoholic drinks. So those are things we can do to make sure that we're modeling, as a policymaker, things that demonstrate responsible drinking. If we want to have a conversation about no drinking or modeling a policy of abstinence, that's a whole other discussion to have from my viewpoint.
Thank you so much, Director Plachy. That clarifies things. Next, we have Governor Petrosic, and then Governor Fay, and then Governor Ahern.
So I've been on the Solo and Small Practice Executive Committee for quite a while, and I serve as a liaison to another section. I know the Solo and Small Practice section fully supports this proposal, and having served on the planning committee for our annual conference, it is always a struggle to find a sponsor for a conference. And it's not because they don't necessarily want to sponsor the social, it's because we don't necessarily have enough attendees attending the conference to warrant their presence at our conference. That being said, as Director Plachy said, this isn't changing hardly anything at all. It's just the source of where the funds are. And frankly, I think it'll create less work for WSBA in terms of having to finagle the funds from here to here to here. It's going to be more of a direct payment. Sections have the choice to provide drink tickets at our one social that we have. It's a welcome reception. We provide usually one drink ticket, typically, maybe two. And depending also on the place that you go, a drink ticket might have to be used for a non-alcoholic drink in the same way that it is an alcoholic drink. I saw here last night for the social that we had, non-alcoholic drinks were being provided complimentary, which I appreciate. But again, some places you need to have a drink ticket for an alcoholic drink or a non-alcoholic drink. And to be able to just provide for a section to use their funds to provide a drink ticket and people can choose what type of drink they want, I think that it's a very fair system. And there's always, too, a person, a bartender there who's in charge of determining whether or not it's on them, of whether or not they should serve this person alcohol or not. After one free drink ticket, then it's a cash bar, just as many of us have seen from the event that we were at last night. So I definitely support this proposal.
Thank you, Governor, President-elect Petrosik. I apologize. So next we have Governor Fay, then Governor Ahern, then I believe, Nancy, did you want to speak? And then Brent Williams-Ruth. So, Governor Fay, you're up.
I am going to have a slight Me Too moment here with Governor Petrosik. My familiarity with the policy stems from decades of being involved with the corporate counsel section, which is not a terrifically active section, but in addition to the 2 or 3 CLEs it puts on each year, it has quarterly dinner meetings, which, quite frankly, the most important part of which is the ability for in-house counsel to meet with other in-house counsel, the secrets, not so secret society of people who do what we do. There are very, very few opportunities for in-house counsel to mingle with others of our ilk, because we tend not to deal with them at all on a professional basis day to day. When we were not allowed to have a couple of free drinks, it was hard to get young in-house counsel to go to those meetings. It became more difficult. And our section did not grow as quickly as we wanted. Now, to be true, the difference between 2 roasted drinks and a cash bar isn't much, and it's not going to change a lot of people, but it does make it significantly easier to book a room at a restaurant for a dinner for 70 people. And that's really where I think we were coming from in pushing towards this. A lot of places want a drink minimum if you're going to have a bartender. And golly, it's tough to get a room for 70 people that doesn't have an exorbitant cost. So I urge that we revert to the policy that we had for years and years and never had a problem with, just to make it easier for those folks in our sections who want to put on voluntary meetings. Thank you.
Next, we have Governor Ahern.
Okay, and I realize I know which way this vote's going to go, but and I don't want to model abstinence, but I'm going to vote no because I do want to model financial risk avoidance. And my perspective is, and I have a very different perspective, is I do not do personal injury litigation, but I get involved when there's a big judgment and there's insurance coverage issues and I have to get the carrier to pay. This year, I have one case where it's a $4.9 million judgment based on one person getting injured in a car accident. Another $14 million judgment from one person dying in an accident. And then another $24 million claim that's now on appeal. And so I see, and I know I only see the bad stuff. I don't see where nothing bad happens. But I see gigantic judgments that involve alcohol, and I'm voting no because I don't want to do anything that makes it any easier for a plaintiff to tag WSBA. It's that simple.
Thank you. I'm going to have General Counsel, because she wants to address, I think, what you said.
I just want to say, and I know, and Nancy and I, Hawkins and I have talked about this a little bit. There is a legal analysis about this, obviously, in your materials. We have an executive session scheduled for right now for tomorrow to discuss on our ledge policy potentially. If folks want to dig into legal risk and want more information about that, I'd ask that we move that conversation to exec session if that's what folks want to get into at this point, rather than having a risk conversation among the governors. I'm happy to do that. We may not need to have either one of those sessions if people don't need to do that, but I just want to keep people's awareness around having our risk discussions within executive session.
Thank you so much, General Counsel. Next, we have, I'm actually going to take Governor Whitney before Brent Williams-Ruth and Nancy Hawkins. Sorry, Nancy Hawkins, then Brent Williams-Ruth.
Yeah, I guess I just had a question because I don't know the history of why this rule was changed in the first place. So if someone could kind of fill me in on that, that would be nice.
Anyone? Well, no. Director, I understand. Director Plachy.
Well, I can give the background that I know. So there was and former Governor Stevens was on a sections policy work group, which was a work group that was working on fiscal policies across the organization, but primarily focused on sections in 2015, 2016 is when this took place. At the time that the sections policy work group started, the fiscal policy was stated as such. It was stated in how it's being asked to revert back to now. So sections had the ability to use their funds to purchase alcohol at WSBA sanctioned events. The rationale was that the funds are from their, voluntary dues. They're a little distinct from the license fees, and the sections would have the choice to do that. Under this sections policy work group, there was a board. It was a pretty big board initiative at the time that created the sections policy work group to look at bringing the fiscal policy and other policies of sections into conformance with pretty much the broader WSBA policy. So to eliminate exceptions, basically. I think that was the driver of the decision to revert back to where sections, or to go to where sections couldn't use license fees, because it brought it into conformity with the broader organization and brought more conformity to the policies with sections and the license fee.
Does that clarify things for you?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Kevin.
Perfect. All right. The next person we have is Nancy Hawkins, and then Brent Williams-Ruth.
The family law section, when this first came up, which now has been maybe even a couple of years, voted unanimously that they opposed it. And they did that for several reasons. The first being that we hold section dues as a fiduciary. People give it to us to help lawyers, help family law lawyers be better family law lawyers, to put on seminars, to put on trainings, and we've been diligently doing those things for years. They do not pay dues to go to a social event. We are a professional organization, not a social club. We looked at, and I think it was Matthew who put together the history in the BOG materials, and I appreciate seeing all that history. If you look at page 229, which I think was originally page 240, maybe in the old materials, it talked about why WSBA doesn't use its funds for alcohol. Quote, the prohibition is important for liability and insurance purposes and appropriate given WSBA's public entity status. We are an example to other organizations, to the public at large. And I think that reputation should be as a professional, well-mannered organization, not a social club or a party club or whatever. I too share Tom's concern about liability, and I've made that clear. I talked to Lori about that. I have represented people injured in car accidents. I've been involved in cases where people died from car accidents caused by drunk drivers. Those are $1 million cases, sometimes multi-million dollars. Someone in my extended family killed a young woman who was a young parent and lost the family farm as a result, because when you injure people or kill them who have young children, it costs millions and millions of dollars. Now, I have no access to what goes on in executive session or what goes on in the confidential information. But if there's a lawsuit, it's going to reflect that there are people at this meeting, including me, who warned this organization, this board of governors, about those financial consequences. I doubt we have insurance that would cover multi-million-dollar lawsuits caused just because people wanted section dues used for drinking. Now, people say, well, it's a choice of each section. One more sentence. It's not a choice of a section. And now our section can diligently choose to keep our dues carefully used for our purposes, proper purposes. But if there's a lawsuit and there's a big judgment, then it's going to affect sections. We aren't a separate entity for purposes of professional liability. So we urge you to not pass this policy.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, we have former Governor Brent Williams-Ruth.
Thank you. On behalf of the RPPT section, our first question is, we didn't understand what it meant when it said, at section functions defined as an event or meeting where the section membership open to all members. We literally had no idea, because all of our executive meetings are open to all the members. Does that mean we could serve alcohol there, or is it just the mid-year meetings and things? So there was a technical question as to clarity as to what exactly the rule allowed. However, on the bigger issue, the pro argument was it's a pain in the ass to have to coordinate with a hotel and a conference center and a resort to have everything just for the speaker's dinner there. So that would be a great benefit, because RPPT, if this passes, they will still be getting sponsorship to cover the cost, but then just for the ease of creating the event, we'll just sign up for it, and then still whoever, Stokes Lawrence or Perkins or whoever will give the money to cover the cost. That's what they're planning to do if it passes. But to dovetail what Nancy and Governor Ahern said, the first question from the EC was, how is this being allowed by general counsel? And so the ask for us is to take this into executive session and really listen to the liability, the concerns about what are our policy limits. I mean, especially if we're talking about lawyers being killed. I'm doing a probate right now with a young lawyer who passed away in an accident and there's a wrongful death claim. Just the lost wages are going to be millions and millions. So and that was exactly what our EC said. So I don't need to know what your analysis is, but I would really like for you to maybe pause this vote, have your meeting tomorrow, listen to your legal counsel, and if for all the reasons that it is why WSBA doesn't realize the sections are part of it. And so it's for that reason that RPPT is split on there's the benefit and we'll use it if you change it. But the very first question was, how is this being allowed from a legal risk perspective? Thank you.
And again, with respect to that question of legal risk, we certainly can go into executive session if that is what folks want to do. I do want to take two more people on the queue. And the next person is President-elect Walla, then Governor Arneson.
I'm not the governor. I don't have voting power, but I do have a moral duty as a member of this organization to provide my insight. And I also have a fiduciary duty because I swear an oath when I was elected as president-elect for for you to provide counsel. I was on the, personally, let me tell you personally, I serve alcohol at home. I serve alcohol to my guests. In my multi-ethnic nonprofits, we serve alcohol, but it's within our risk. But this is different. I was on the member executive council with my good friend Matthew Dresden. I was the co-chair when this was first brought up, and the concern that I had then, I still have it now. It's not just about people drinking and getting into an accident or things like that alone. That in itself is serious risk that we need to factor into this discussion. But what is more concerning are the stories that I hear from previous presidents and previous governors about people getting drunk and doing things that are very, very primordial, ungentlemanly. I'm talking about men now. I'm not talking about women. That's what they did to staff or women and things like that. That story stay with me. So, and I don't want that with this association, with this organization. I think that is really concerning. And I sat down with Nancy yesterday to really think about this again. And she has stories of people acting very differently when they are under the influence of alcohol that they would not ordinarily have acted. So I'm urging you, I think my 3 minutes is over, and I've been asking Dan, who also has an experience, history of this, to speak up. So I don't know how you're going to vote, but I'm urging you to at least take time, like Governor Williams-Ruth said, to consider the risk. If we fully consider the risk and then we vote the way we voted, yeah, it will be on record that we did consider the risk. So having a discussion about the legal risk is important to your vote, and I urge you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Ottawale. I also, sorry, President-elect Ottawale. But I also hope, folks, that when, I really think we should go into executive session and discuss risk. I really hope we're not going to start engaging in speculations about governors, past governors, or whatever, because that doesn't seem like a productive road to go down, and it seems like it could be damaging to people. So I'm going to call on Governor Arneson next.
Thank you. I'd like to start with saying it's my strong opinion that sections should be allowed to do what they want with their own funds. And so I start this analysis in my mind from that perspective. And I don't advocate that events not include alcohol at all. But if the main reason is to make it easier for sections to have hosted bars, I respectfully disagree that this is just a matter of who's paying. I think it will happen more frequently that there are hosted bars because it is easier. So it will be more common. Again, I'm not advocating that that's a good or bad thing. It's just, it is a difference that I think we should expect. I actually had some comments written down that Nancy and Brent said exactly. I was going to quote the same thing that Nancy said. And that is just that in these materials back in 2016, they said that they wanted to make this change because of liability insurance purposes. And I haven't heard any explanation as to why that may have changed. Why is that different today than it was in 2016? Or do we think they were incorrect in making that determination then? And so based on that, I've heard a lot of people say some stuff about executive session. So if it's appropriate, I would make a motion that we table the rest of this issue until after we meet in executive session tomorrow.
I second.
Great. So there's a motion on the table. Any discussion before we go to vote? Oh, sorry, Governor Villeneuve.
On that motion to table, I just would like to say what I think today because I might not be there tomorrow. So
That's fine with me. I don't mean to cut off anybody who'd like to speak today.
I just want to say one thing. As much as I love this bar, I love the activity, I love what everybody's doing, there's one problem to me is when I go to these sections and I go on these calls and these smaller groups and these different people that we're trying to activate, the different communities, LGBT or IP or whatever. I think the attendance is sad. It just is. It's sad. We had COVID, everybody went home, and now the door is open and everybody's trying to socialize one way or another. This notion that we are not there to socialize people, we're not anybody's parents. You know, alcohol is legal in this country. Cigarettes are legal in this country. If we want to limit risk, we should ask people not to drive to these events. Why not, right? I'm just personally, I understand there's an issue with alcohol in this country. I understand risk, but I think the bar and the younger members, because I don't see a lot of very young member, very excited to join these groups. I think as we rebuild these groups, that is one of the 10 tools that we have to make sure that law students want to come to our events. And so that's my point. And I agree with everything you said, by the way. So that's my position.
Madam President,
Yes.
you have a motion to table, to
Yep.
postpone. It is debatable, but please keep the debate to either postponing or not.
Right.
That's-
So,
that's on the table.
is there any other discussion? Because then if not, I'm going to proceed to a vote. Okay,
And you just need a majority vote on.
sure. General Counsel, can you use this? To table the discussion so that we can go into executive session and discuss this on this particular. Well, not tomorrow. We don't know that. Because let me just say this, we're getting through the agenda in a fairly expeditious manner and, I'm sorry, in a fairly expeditious manner. And so it is entirely possible that we could get this done, get tomorrow's morning stuff done by the end of day today. It's still a possibility. So I don't want to say table it till tomorrow. I would rather say table it until we next go into executive session, which will give us flexibility.
Okay, so your motion to table is really tabling this until executive session is concluded and you reconvene.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Okay, prepare to vote. Governor Ahern?
Has that motion been seconded?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, for that part. Governor Bloom?
Aye.
Governor Bang?
Yes.
Governor Dresden?
Yes.
Governor, Governor Whitney?
Sure.
Governor Rathbun?
Yes.
Governor Couch?
Aye.
Governor Wynn?
Aye.
Governor Petrosic? Governor Price?
Yes.
Governor Villeneuve?
No.
And Governor Fay?
Yes.
Oh, and Governor, did I miss one? No, she said.
No, me, and I vote yes.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I did skip you. Sorry. All right, passes.
Fantastic. So, we have another issue on the agenda with respect to legislative activities, which will involve going into executive session. And it's possible, I mean, there's a couple of ways we could do it. What I want to do is now go to the second read of the WYLC proposed law amendment. Fantastic. So we have folks here from that. That's great. Would you guys like a 5-minute break? All right. Sorry about that. But when you come back, we are going to have a discussion with you and we're looking forward to it.